The cedar box is heavier than it looks, stuck deep behind a shelf of canned beans in a root cellar no one's opened in 15 years. 17-year-old Lila Carter nearly gives up trying to yank it loose. Her hands are raw from cleaning the old cellar, which always gave her the creeps as a little kid. The stone walls sweat with moisture. Spiderwebs thick as yarn drape from the ceiling beams. The smell of earth and old preserves fills her lungs with every breath. But now, after Grandma Ada's funeral 2 weeks ago, and with no one else left in her family, Lila is responsible for this whole Appalachian Valley house she never asked for and barely knows how to maintain. When the box finally budges, coat of dust giving way, corners scraping against stone, Lila's heart stutters. She knows this box. She's seen it exactly 3 times in her life. Once when she was 7, peeking through Ada's bedroom door at midnight. Once when she was 12, the night of the terrible storm that killed the Hendersons' cattle. And once, 5 years ago, the night Ada sat her down and whispered words Lila tried to forget. This isn't just any old lockbox. This is the box her grandma always locked away after dark. The box grown-ups whispered about when they thought Lila was asleep. The box that made Ada's eyes go distant and sad. She turns it over in her hands. The wood is smooth from age, corners reinforced with tarnished brass. No keyhole. Only a small, worn-out indentation on the top, shaped almost like a thumbprint. Tucked underneath, wedged between the box and the shelf, a faded scrap of paper in Ada's spidery handwriting, for Lila. The answers are yours when you need them. Ada. She goes still. Her breath catches. Answers to what? What questions was she supposed to ask? Ada died before Lila worked up the courage to ask anything important. About her mother who left, her father who disappeared. The legacy everyone said the Carter women carried, but no one would explain. What Lila discovers inside her grandmother's box will not only change the course of her own lonely life, but will reignite a legacy of knowledge and hope for the entire valley. One that's been waiting to come alive since the day she was born. Lila Carter never meant to stay in the valley. Born here, sure. Raised in the same wooden house her great-great-grandmother built in 1872. But ever since her mother left when Lila was 9, chasing city dreams and a man who promised her Nashville, and her father walked the railroad tracks one October morning and never came back, Lila has been dreaming of escape. College somewhere far away. A job that didn't involve chickens or canning jars. A life where loss didn't hang over everything like fog. Grandma Ada raised her. Stubborn, sharp-eyed, always smelling of basil and peppermint and wood smoke. Ada knew things other people didn't. When rain was coming 3 days out by the way the birds hid in the laurel thickets. Which part of the creek to fish after midnight when the moon was waning. How to treat a fever without a doctor when the nearest hospital was 40 miles and the roads washed out. How to read people's hearts just by watching their hands. Lila spent springs planting beans and tomatoes and squash in neat rows. Summers picking blackberries until her fingers bled purple. Autumns canning everything they grew. Winters spinning tallies with Ada by firelight while wind howled through the valley. But loss hangs around mountain hollows like morning fog. Ada's health withered fast. Started with forgetting where she put her glasses, then forgetting she'd already fed the chickens, then forgetting Lila's name for minutes at a time. In a blur of hospital trips to Ashland hospice nurses who smelled like antiseptic and pity, Lila became the last Carter left in the valley. The end of a line that stretched back 6 generations. After the funeral, which 23 people attended, and Lila cried through without really feeling anything. The house feels 10 times too large. Every stair creaks with memories. Every window shows a view Ada loved. The official paperwork, delivered by a lawyer who drove up from Knoxville and clearly wanted to leave as fast as possible, says Lila Mae Carter, legal owner. Along with the house comes a list of bills Lila doesn't understand, property taxes she can't afford, and a bank account with $3,200 that won't last through winter if she's careful, and definitely won't if she isn't. Her only real inheritance beyond the house and the land and the debts seems to be Ada's root cellar, a place she'd always avoided because of the smell and the narrow stairs and the childhood ghost stories about what lived in the dark down there. But food is running low. The refrigerator died 2 days after the funeral, and Lila needs to know exactly what she has to work with if she's going to survive until spring. She brings down a battery-powered lantern because the cellar's single bulb burned out years ago, braces herself for spiders and crumbling shelves, and possibly a raccoon. But what she finds, wedged behind a wall of dusty canned peaches, dated 2008, is the box. The box she last saw in Ada's lap 5 years ago, on the night of a thunderstorm when the power went out and Ada called Lila into her bedroom. The old woman had been crying, which Lila had never seen before. She held the box like it was a living thing. "One day, this will keep you alive, Lila, and maybe everyone else too. Don't open it until you absolutely have to. You'll know when." That night, Lila just hugged Ada and tried to forget the sadness in her eyes, tried to forget the weight of whatever Ada was carrying. Now, alone in the cellar with dust in her throat and her heart pounding, she examines the box closely. No keyhole, no latch, just that strange indentation on top, smooth and worn, almost like it's been pressed 1,000 times. She tries her thumb, presses down, nothing. Tries harder, presses and twists slightly, feels something shift. Here's a soft click. The lid loosens. Inside the box, once she lifts the heavy cedar lid all the way open, are not the valuables she half expected. No money, no jewelry, no land deeds or stock certificates. Instead, she finds pieces of a life, maybe many lives, carefully preserved. A faded leather-bound journal, spine cracked, pages yellowed. Rough paper packets, each one labeled in different handwriting with names and years. Some filled with seeds, others with dried powder or crumbled leaves. A tin Altoids container, rattling when she shakes it, filled with hand-forged fishhooks that look 100 years old. A folded map, drawn in blue and red pencil on paper, so thin it's nearly transparent. A stack of letters, maybe 20 of them, rolled and tied with a ribbon that was once white, but has aged to cream. And on top of everything, a single note on modern notebook paper. Ada's handwriting, recent, maybe from the week before she died. If you're reading this, the world's changed, and so have you. Our family has always been keepers of what people forget. Don't let what's inside be lost. Share it if you dare. You'll know who to trust. Lila sits on the cellar floor, box in her lap, and cries. Not from grief this time, from overwhelm, from the weight of responsibilities she didn't ask for and doesn't understand, from the loneliness of being 17 and the last of anything. But eventually she wipes her face, carries the box upstairs, sets it on the kitchen table under the light, and begins to read. The next days blur together as Lila dives deep into the box's treasures. The journal, written in careful looping script, begins with an entry dated April 7th, 1913. It's not just Ada's. The first entry is signed Mary Catherine Carter, Ada's mother, Lila's great-grandmother. The handwriting changes every few years. Different women, same family. A Carter family tradition of writing down everything worth remembering. The journal is part almanac, part medical text, part personal diary. There are pressed flowers and leaves taped beside handwritten remedies. Instructions for everything from treating snakebite to a healing heartbreak. Some entries are simple, almost mundane. Red clover tea for cough, picked at sunrise when dew is still on the petals. Steep for 7 minutes, add honey from the hives on the south slope. Others are more specific, more urgent. Never harvest ginseng from the east slope before the last frost in April, or it won't grow back. The plants remember. The mountain remembers. There are rough, hand-drawn maps showing locations most people have forgotten. Hidden springs, old mines with warnings to keep out, caves suitable for storage, trees that mark property boundaries from before the county kept records. Strange symbols Lila remembers Ada tracing with her finger when Lila was little, teaching her to read the land before she could read books. The letters are addressed to women in the Carter line. Each one sealed until its intended recipient needed it. To Mary, should you find yourself alone after the last flood. To Ada, on the day your heart first breaks. To Sarah, when the winter comes that tries to kill you. And at the bottom of the stack, in an envelope that hasn't been opened, to Lila, when the valley needs you and you think you're not enough. Lila's hands shake as she opens her letter. Ada's handwriting fills 2 pages. Sweet girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're alone, and probably scared. I'm sorry I couldn't prepare you better. The truth is, every Carter woman faces this moment. The moment when everything we've been becomes everything you have to carry forward. You'll think you can't do it. You'll want to run, but you're stronger than you know. The box will guide you. The valley will teach you. And when you're ready, you'll understand why we keep these secrets. Not to hoard them, but to protect them until someone worthy can share them again. That someone is you. Feed the valley, and the valley will feed you. Trust yourself, trust the old ways, and know that I love you more than you'll ever understand. Grandma Ada, Lila cries again. But this time there's something else mixed with the grief, something like purpose. Among the strangest contents are the seed packets, dozens of them. Beans labeled 1946 in faded pencil. Corn kernels in a paper packet from 1932. Squash seeds folded in a page torn from an old farmer's almanac. With Ada's handwriting noting, moon-shaped leaves, drought-resistant, save for when nothing else grows. Tomato seeds, lettuce, herbs, Lila doesn't recognize. Each packet carefully preserved, waiting. There's a section at the back of the journal, in handwriting, Lila recognizes as Ada's, from maybe 10 years ago, labeled in all capitals, for hard times. The instructions are blunt, practical, urgent. If the store ever closes and trucks stop coming, plant the brown beans first. They'll grow in poor soil, and they'll keep you alive. If you get sick and no one can help, brew a pinch of the blue root powder in hot water, only once a day. More than that will make you sicker. If winter is harder than usual, check the back cave marked on the map. There's firewood and canned goods stored there from 2009. It should still be good. Each note is like a message in a bottle sent decades earlier, meant only for the Carter woman who'd face what comes next. And apparently, that woman is Lila. That very week, as if the universe is testing her, it rains, not normal rain, biblical rain, the kind that turns roads into rivers and rivers into floods. It rains steadily for 4 days straight. The valley's main road washes out on day 2. The bridge over Cutter Creek collapses on day 3. And on day 4, the local store's owner, a man named Rick, who moved here from Ohio 2 years ago and doesn't understand mountains, puts up a sign, closed until further notice. Truck can't get through. Lila overhears worried neighbors talking outside the post office, which is one of 3 buildings in the valley that stays open no matter what. Truck got stuck outside of Knoxville. Driver says he ain't even gonna try until the road's clear. Could be next week. Could be longer. People start to panic quietly, the way mountain people do. Not with shouting, but with silence, with worried glances, with suddenly remembering they need to check on elderly relatives. The sense of unease grows, and Ada's box, sitting on Lila's kitchen table, feels heavier with every passing day. Lila doesn't believe in magic. She believes in cause and effect, in seeds and soil and sun, in work that produces results. But she believes in Ada's instincts, and Ada's instincts are written all over that journal. When the power flickers out for 2 days, because a tree fell on the main line and the utility company can't get a crew up the mountain, Lila makes a decision. She digs out the packet labeled brown beans, planted spring 46, survived the drought, follows the faded instructions written in her great-grandmother's hand. Soak overnight in rainwater. Plant 2 inches deep in well-drained soil. Space 6 inches apart. Mulch, heavy with leaves and straw. Water every 3rd day, unless rain comes. She uses one of Ada's old garden beds behind the chicken coop, the one with the best sun exposure. Mulches with fallen leaves she rakes from under the oak trees. Waters using rainwater she catches in an old barrel Ada kept for exactly this purpose. At first she's embarrassed. What if someone sees her? What if they think she's lost her mind, planting beans from 1946, like they'll actually grow? But hunger is powerful. Loneliness is powerful. And the alternative is doing nothing, which feels like giving up on Ada, on the valley, on herself. She spends evenings reading more of the journal, lighting the wood stove with pages from old newspapers Ada hoarded in the barn, learning about ancient Carter rituals nobody talks about anymore, how to trade dried herbs for eggs even when money is gone, which families value what, who needs medicine and who needs food, and who needs company, how to make cough syrup from pine needles and wild honey, how to preserve meat without refrigeration, how to recognize when someone is lying and when they're just scared, how to read the valley's rhythms like a book. A week into the blackout, on a morning when Lila is beginning to think she'll be alone forever, an old friend of Ada's knocks on the door. Miss Hattie Boone, 70-something, tough as hickory, wearing a faded coat and rain boots. She's worried about Lila staying alone, but more than that, she's desperate. Her grandson, a boy of maybe 8, who Lila vaguely remembers from school years ago, has a fever that won't break. It started 3 days ago. Now he's delirious, burning up, and no doctor can get to the valley until the bridge reopens, which could be weeks. Lila panics. She's not a doctor. She's barely an adult. But the journal's recipe for blue root tea floats up in her memory, clear as if Ada is whispering it. She finds the packet labeled blue root powder, spring harvest 67, for fevers and infections. Measures out a pinch, exactly as the instructions specify. Boils water on the wood stove. Steeps the powder for exactly 5 minutes. Pours it into a jar and tells Miss Hattie to give the boy 1 cup, small sips, every 4 hours. No more than that. She watches through the night from Miss Hattie's couch while the old woman tends her grandson. Prays to a god she's not sure she believes in. By morning, the fever breaks. The boy's skin cools. His breathing evens. He opens his eyes, asks for water, falls into a real sleep instead of feverish unconsciousness. Miss Hattie cries and pulls Lila into a hug that smells like lavender and desperation. "You have Ada's gift," she says. "I knew it. I knew it would pass to you. You come to my house anytime you need bread or milk or eggs or anything. You hear me? Anything." Word spreads quietly the way it does in small places. Not through gossip exactly, but through something older. Respect, gratitude, need. Lila Carter has Ada's gift. Locals start coming, first just to ask questions. What to do about potato beetles eating their garden? How to can peaches before they spoil? Whether it's safe to drink from the creek after the flood? Lila shares what she knows. And what she doesn't know, she finds in the journal, without letting anyone see the box itself or understand the full extent of what she has. Meanwhile, impossibly, the beans sprout. 10 days after planting, tiny green shoots push through the soil. The garden bed starts to green where rows before were barren. By the end of the second week, Lila has been planted 6 inches tall, healthier than anything she's ever grown. She trades the first harvest, just a handful of fresh beans, to an elderly neighbor named Mr. Pruitt in exchange for firewood he's been cutting on his property. He's so grateful he cries, and then he shares a story Lila has never heard. A bout of winter in 1953, when snow buried the valley for 6 weeks, and Ada's mother, Lila's great-grandmother, fed half the valley out of the same root cellar using food nobody knew she had stored. The stories keep coming. Every person Lila helps shares another piece of Carter family history she never knew. She finds herself walking the valley with the map from the box, finding places marked with symbols she's learning to read. Hidden springs that still run clear. Little caves marked safe for storage. One cave, beside an ancient dogwood tree, lightning struck but still living, hides a stash of mason jars filled with black walnuts and wild apples that taste like nothing from any store. Preserved perfectly in the cool dark, each discovery ties her tighter to the land, to her family's past, to a future she's building without meaning to. As word spreads of Lila's quiet help, the Carter house becomes a gathering place. She hosts group canning days in Ada's big kitchen, the one with the wood-burning stove and the wide table. Neighbors bring whatever they can spare. Berries picked from the roadside, tomatoes from struggling gardens, stories from their own grandmothers. Little by little, the valley shifts from fearful isolation to quiet cooperation. Lila finds unexpected comfort in these rituals, teaching a teenage girl to save seeds for next year's planting, showing a group of kids how to spot poison ivy and jewelweed, listening to Miss Hattie tell stories about how Ada kept the valley alive in bad times. But not everyone is happy with the change. Rick, the store owner from Ohio who doesn't understand how things work here, resents that people are relying less on his stock. He shows up at Lila's house one afternoon, angry, accusing her of running an illegal business, of undercutting his store, of spreading what he calls mountain witchcraft. For a moment, Lila is shaken. She doubts whether she has any right to share the Carter's secrets, wonders if she's doing more harm than good. That night, unable to sleep, she goes through the box again, finds something she missed before, a final letter meant for her, hidden in a nearly invisible seam in the box's lining. The envelope is marked "Open when you doubt," inside Ada's handwriting. Lila, remember, knowledge is only powerful when shared, Some people will fear what they don't understand. Let them. You're not here to convince everyone. You're here to feed the people who are hungry. Teach the people who want to learn. The valley will remember who helped and who didn't. Feed the valley, and the valley will feed you. Trust that. Grandma Ada. That very night, as if Ada is still watching, lightning storms rumble through the mountains. Lila's dreams vividly. Ida, standing by the garden in dawn mist, wearing the same blue dress she wore to church, telling Lila in a voice clear as day, "You're the Carter now. Let the valley remember what we've always been." By autumn, as leaves turn gold and the air sharpens with coming frost, everyone in the valley knows some version of the story. The girl who found her grandmother's box and fed an entire community from seeds and memories. The garden behind Lila's house brims with food saved for winter. Beans and squash and herbs and more. The root cellar is filled again. Not just for herself, but for the next person who'll need it. Lila has learned to can, to preserve, to save, to share. Some ask to see the box itself. She refuses, gently but firmly. "It's not the box," she says. "It's what we do with it that changes things. The box is just paper and seeds and old knowledge. What matters is using it." She helps neighbors start their own journals. The kids are eager to draw their own maps of secret places. Valley people visit the spring and caves she rediscovered, leaving behind new caches, pickles, preserved peaches, hand-carved spoons, notes for future finders. Each cache is added to the new map Lila keeps taped to the kitchen wall, a living network of shared resources. One bright October morning, as leaves turn every shade of fire and frost sparkles on the ground, Lila hosts a harvest feast. She invites everyone who helped, everyone who shared, everyone who believed. The kitchen and yard filled with laughter and music. Someone brings a fiddle, someone else brings a guitar. Miss Hattie gives a toast to the Carter women, who never let wisdom die, who kept the valley alive when everything else failed. Lila, looking at the faces around her, neighbors who've become friends, friends who've become family, realizes she's built something Ada would be proud of. A family made of everyone in the valley who decided to hope instead of hide, to share instead of hoard, to remember instead of forget. Before bedtime that night, exhausted and happy in a way she hasn't been since Ada died, Lila sits alone in Ada's old chair by the wood stove. The box rests on her lap. She opens it one more time, pulls out the journal, writes the final entry in her own hand. "This year, we remembered who we are. We fed each other. We taught each other. We survived together. I hope whoever finds this next, whether it's my daughter or granddaughter, or some Carter woman not even born yet, will know to keep the circle going. Don't let what's inside be lost. Not ever again. With love, Lila Carter, October 23rd, 2025. She tucks the journal back inside, adds the seeds she saved from this year's harvest, carefully labeled, adds the new letters neighbors wrote to future generations, adds a small bundle of dried wildflowers from the meadow, tied with string for good luck. She carries the box down to the root cellar, slides it to the back of the shelf behind the canned peaches, exactly where she found it. And she smiles, knowing the next valley girl, or valley boy, who needs it will find it, just like her, exactly when the time is right. If this story sparked a memory, gave you hope, or reminded you of wisdom your own family passed down, click subscribe for more tales from forgotten valleys and timeless knowledge. Leave a comment and tell me, what skills or secrets did your family pass down that you want to see live on? What box of memories are you keeping for the next generation? Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next story.